Howdy, guys. It's 10 p.m. on Sunday night. Of course it is the APAT show. Right, it's your first and your last APAT show of the week. Can I say that, Leigh? Is that right? Technically, I think that's right. Technically, that's right.
You can get away with that.
I can say that.
You can get away with that.
We're delighted to be here with you. We'll talk about our guest in a moment. I will show you who's sat on the virtual couch, right? This will be really exciting tonight. But Leigh, first of all, it's not like you've got a bit of a beard growing there. You've been at DTD for a couple of days. Have you been sleeping in the car park or what?
Yeah. I've been up in the Midlands, checking out what's been going on at dusk till dawn. So pretty much just have had literally off grid. I think is what they call it these days, isn't it? So
off grid. Spent all the money on the poker. Had to sleep in the car. Just 5 guys the car, and yeah. What more can you say?
It's pretty much the bet. You can't these days. Cost of living, Des. You can't afford absolutely. Accommodation.
Well, listen. Joking aside, and we'll come back to it. But I heard you did reasonably well, so we'll come back and talk about that in a wee while. On the virtual couch tonight, Leigh. What? There isn't anybody there. We haven't even got a poker room open. Has he arrived? Has he arrived?
As the music played, he arrived in the studio. It was that you're like the Pied Piper of poker, Des. Yeah, you start playing that theme tune, and people turn up. Yeah,
I like somebody who is so cool that he turns up on the second we go live. We don't even know he's there. He just comes in. He's like the shadow. Who am I talking about? Well, it is the ultimate trainer. One Dan Owston. How are you doing, Dan?
Yeah, I'm all right. It's good to join you guys. And it was a bit last minute today.
Oh, yes. How's your stock?
Just a few people, so.
Looking at your stock room there, Dan, how is everything going? What's selling at the moment?
Nothing sells, Des. Nothing ever sells.
Taxman might be watching, Leigh. Can't give too much away. Can't talk about colours, sizes, brands, nothing like that. Can't give that detail away. All right, we got a table coming up. Let me see if I can put that live for us.
It's a very light table at the top. It's a heads up table at the moment, but we'll see whether anybody else fancies joining as well. But at the moment, just myself and Paul, both clearly with money to burn on a Sunday night. Paul has slightly more money to burn than I do after his efforts at dusk till dawn on the weekend, but. Yeah.
Are we going to hear about these efforts then?
Oh, yeah. Well,
let's do it.
Paul may choose to talk about.
I think that was the intro. I think that was the perfect intro to talk about it. Let's face it.
Yeah. No. So it was up. So went up to Nottingham to check out the WSOP circuit event, final weekend of that up at dusk till dawn. I couldn't really play a huge amount, Dan, to be honest, because a lot of it carries forward on to Monday, and I had to be back home, not just for the show, but for tomorrow, because our one of our labs is going in for a little minor op tomorrow. So needed to be home for that. So couldn't play the main, but I did end up playing the satellite on the Friday night, just because it was about the only thing that was really on worth playing. So that was a little bit of a bit of an interesting one. They also played a 300-700 level in that satellite, which was quite bizarre.
300-700.
Yeah, quite a bizarre one. But Paul and I both played that. Didn't get anywhere. Paul decided to play the main anyway. So on Saturday he bought in for day 1B of the main and finished the day after I think it was 10 levels, something like that, with 288,000. So made it through to the day 2 along with 140 other runners. Today.
280,000. If you start with 50K, that's a great stack. If you start with 250, that's not a great stack.
No, you started with 60,000, I think it was.
Okay.
So average stack was about 200K going into day 2. Yeah, I think Chip Leader had about 500 and something thousand.
Oh, so he probably had a good 50-60 bigs.
Yeah. So they brought 140 back for today. That started at midday. They were going to play 10 levels, 10-hour-long levels today. Money Burst, it was paid top 63 in the end. So that logically would suggest that they had about 420 uniques, I think, roughly, that played. The 15% of the field got paid roughly of it, but they missed the guarantee. They missed the $500,000 guarantee by about 60,000. They were 60 players light for that. So anyway, but Paul got into the money. and managed to pick up what really was a min cash in the end. I think he picked up about 2,500 for finishing about 37th, 38th, something like that. I think it was 100k up top, Dan. So which will obviously play out tomorrow. So
Nice.
That'll conclude tomorrow, and they'll be live streaming that as well. So whilst he was doing that on the Saturday, started at midday yesterday. I went to the cinema. So I took in the delights of the second Avatar film that I had not seen. So decided to check that out. Hadn't realised it was a hard of hearing screening. So I had subtitles throughout the whole thing. But actually they were nicely done subtitles, none of your rubbish stuff. Properly done for. And I so watched that, thoroughly enjoyed that. So then got into Dusk Till Dawn and was basically lining myself up to play the £120 win the button side event, which really is the one that everybody wanted to win in the week. That's what everyone was really going for. So me and a grand total of 35 others basically put our money down to play this in what was a fairly turbo-like structure, but did all right. Hit the final table. Top 6 got paid. And when we got three-handed, we decided to chop it up because it was just getting a little bit on the silly side, to be perfectly honest. So did all right. So picked up about 800 quid for my troubles. So
Nice.
ended up being a profitable trip up to the Midlands. So that was quite nice.
Very nice. Listen, Simon Bowler, as you would expect, is out there, right? He is the one sort of loyal viewer that we can count on every Sunday night to come and spend a bit of time with us, which is really nice. Evening to you, Simon. He did guess incorrectly, but quite close, I have to say. Is it Vince Ely that is, in fact, our guest? Very close, we'd all agree, but more concerning. He said the sound is breaking up. So you're hearing a bit of crackling. Funnily enough, I thought I was hearing a bit of crackling as well. Lee wasn't hearing it.
Up mine.
You're hearing it as well. All right, so I'm just going to unplug one thing. Hopefully it doesn't do anything too serious. I mean, we've all tried this before.
I was going to say, your unplug one thing, I think last time ended up the whole thing going down. But
Yeah. Detail. So I've unplugged that thing.
It doesn't have anything to do with the integrity with the ref in the Fulham Man U game, no?
I didn't see it, but I heard what happened. Hopefully that's a bit better.
wow.
Apart from my bloody image has
they're in danger of
frozen
losing.
now.
We can't have that, so let's send most of the team off.
Well, you say integrity. I don't think the ref did a huge amount wrong in what went on there. It was just the most bizarre couple of minutes of football that I've seen for a long time. I don't quite know how to explain it, but I'll try and explain it to you, Des. So because if you didn't watch the game, I assume, so therefore I'll
didn't
I will
see
I
it.
will. So basically, Fulham were absolutely bossing the game. I mean, I've not seen a side dominate a game of football in an FA Cup quarter-final since I watched Man City play Burnley yesterday. It was not totally one-sided, but United weren't in it, just weren't playing at all.
Yeah.
And Fulham went one up early in the second half, and again we're coasting it quite nicely. And then United had an attack. Sancho went through, rounded the goalkeeper, put it back onto his right foot, hit it towards the goal going in front post, and Willian kind of dived across it. It looked like a handball, that he dived in front of it and his hand had gone out, but difficult to be 100% sure. So the refs put it to VAR. VAR's asked him to go and have a look. And Lee Dixon on commentary is pretty much going, "Don't even waste your time looking, ref. It's a penalty. It's every day of the week. It's a penalty." So as he's going over to the VAR area, the Fulham manager, Silva's come over and said something to him as he's going over to have a look at it. And he's basically sent him off for whatever was said as he's going over to have a look at this. So he's had a quick look. Look, to be fair,
we're just easing you in.
He looked at it from a number of different angles and obviously made the decision, came back on, does his little screen thing. VAR gives the penalty. So he's then getting his red card back out again because he's obviously now going to send Willian off for effectively intentional handball, stopping a goal. He's literally on the line. So as he's trying to do that and does sort of show it, Mitrovic is right in his face, and then Mitrovic puts his hands on him. Literally kind of not anything serious, but nudges his shoulder, pushes his shoulder. And he just looks at him and sends Mitrovic off as well.
I think pushes is a bit strong. He might.
Yeah, it was a nudge.
He might stroke his shoulder.
Well, but he certainly does put his hands on the referee, which unfortunately can't do. So he sends him off as well. So it all kicks off for a little bit over this. The Fulham players are then allegedly, but I don't think they're trying to scuff up the penalty spot and all. It's just a very bizarre situation. So eventually all three of them head off down the Old Trafford tunnel, which obviously is in the corner of the Old Trafford. So they're having to walk down the pitch to do that. So they all go off. So the penalty gets taken, which Fernandes puts away. So it's now 1-1, and Fulham are playing with 9 men. A minute and a half later, and it's 2-1 to United. They've had one of the first attacks when they're down to 9 men. Shaw's put through, puts the ball across, and Sabitzer does a little flick over the goalkeeper, and it goes in. Gets checked for offside, but it's all good because he was behind the ball. And then they pretty much just see out the game, score a late one in added on time, and that was that. Silva came out in his interview after the game and was obviously said, look, what went on there? It looked like your team kind of imploded, really. And his view was, well, we should have had a couple of penalties in the first half, and VAR didn't look at those, so that's what I was kicking off over. Wasn't remorseful for it at all. Was kind of like, not an issue. So that's it. I have no idea how my team are in the semi-finals of the FA Cup because
you'll take it.
Well, we'll take it, but well, I don't think the referee did a huge amount wrong. I think he was left in no real option.
I think had it not been so heated because of the incident, there was no way Mitrovic gets sent off for that. It was only because of the heat of the moment.
But the trouble is, though, Dan, he put his hands on the referee, and that is just a no-no.
So you're telling me it's a red every time somebody actually touches a referee, strokes him?
But it wasn't.
No, because there's got to be some consistency, and it happens 20 times every game where people grab the ref shirt, pull him round, ref. So there was no malice in it. You're saying just touching in any way, shape, or form has to be a red. I'll give you 20 instances of this weekend where somebody has touched a ref and it hasn't been a red.
Well,
okay. Maybe in the heat of it, the ref could have turned around and just gone, okay, I can see you're angry about it. But it was right in his face, and then
was there anything malicious in it?
He had to get pulled away, Dan. I think he might have actually done. He was getting pulled away from his team. Do you not think so?
He had to get pulled away after the red.
Oh, I tell you what.
The red.
Look, guys, I'm still hearing a bit of crackling. Okay. So I did replace one of these during the week, so I'm gonna switch it out for this one, right? So just let me play a 1-minute video, and when we come back, hopefully we have sound. Right?
Yeah, cool.
It's annoying. I'm sure it's annoying.
You're probably right. It probably. I mean, Willian had to go, and
that one did. But I get what you're saying, Dan. It's
I'm saying is, if you're looking at any sort of consistency, if you're saying that's red, then every time somebody touches a red ref on the shoulder and says, "Turn around, have a look at this," that has to be a red card.
That's
the rule.
Well, I don't know. Actually, I don't know what the rule is. Do you have to do it or not? I'm not sure. Do you want to play a video, Des? Is that what you're trying to do?
Yeah. I don't want to interrupt you. No.
You play
Let's
the video. People can have a chat in the chat box about this.
Have a chat amongst yourself. I'll just go under the bonnet for a minute, right?
Yeah.
Right, let's see if that's any better. We will see. So anyway, Mitrovic, carry on, gents.
Well, no, that's it. And to be fair, Dan's spot on in what he says. It's about consistency, isn't it? I mean, this is what I talked about with last week with the Casemiro red card. Yeah, the Casemiro one last week. Yeah, I mean, it's reckless. So he probably deserves to go for it. But there was similar or worse tackles that weekend and challenges that didn't even get booked. And it is consistency. And Dan's quite right. Is if whatever the rules are. That's it. Interesting to see what people in the chat say, because I wasn't, so I mean, Tom Bacon's out saying Mitrovic red card offence every time, absolutely no argument against. Simon Allen says it was 100% malicious and aggressive. Red card was definitely right. But I can understand what you're saying, Dan. Is I don't know where the line is. I'm not quite sure because actually Fernandes in the game, the Liverpool game, was it the Liverpool game with the linesman?
Yeah.
Yeah, and where I mean that probably what Fernandes did to the linesman is probably no different than what Mitrovic did to the ref today.
No, I will say Simon Lawler's put a really good point in the chat there, where it could quite easily be inconsidered. In fact, it depends what Mitrovic said, because he's not the most, he's got a name as well, so that's going to go against him. So anything he does is going to be read into 3 times as harsh as it actually is. Whether he said anything or not, we don't know. Is it likely? Possibly.
Probably, yeah.
Probably.
Probably, yeah.
If I was a betting man.
Yeah. But I've never quite seen anything like that with that in a game like that, where say Fulham were completely in control of that game. There was they're United. I genuinely was thinking I think it's been one game too many before the international break, and we're out the cup.
Think Suarez against was it Ghana or the Ivory Coast?
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. Ludicrous.
It is. Yeah, but hey, we're not, and so we're we're through. And the
brilliant thing. I'm sorry, you're on the goal line. If it doesn't go in, if you don't touch it, it's a goal. Instinct kicks in, and you're like, stop the ball going in the net.
Yeah. I can, but he straight away pointed to his chest. It was one of those where you kind of go, you know exactly what's going on there. Could he have been a bit more subtle about it? Maybe, but but ultimately, you pay the price for that. So so the semi-final draw was done before that game actually. So Man City been drawn at home. They're playing Sheffield United, and Man United are now away to Brighton.
When you say away, I mean obviously both games are at Wembley, right?
Yeah, completely.
Detail.
Yeah.
Listen, a bit of good news.
So it is on. Let's just say it is on potentially. Although, to be honest, if we play today like we did against Brighton, they will turn us over. No,
they're playing good. They're playing well.
Really well. But apparently, I didn't realize there's never been a Manchester Derby FA Cup final.
Okay, well, it's there.
Never been the 2-1, so it is a potential thing.
Yeah, it is there. I tell you what, I only saw the last 10 minutes of the Sheffield United game today. To be honest, they looked grand.
The last 10 years, I don't know how many finals City have actually been involved in. It's not many.
No, apparently they've done. Is it something like 5 of the last 6 or 6 of the last 7 semi-finals?
Yeah.
Which is pretty insane. I'm just getting my chips in here against Mr. Haycock, by the way.
Get him in.
What's going on here? So
I hope you've got Queen, Ace, X of Hearts.
I might slightly disappoint you there, then, Dan. Yeah. But
evening to Stu, who's joining us, and Simon's got an interesting one here. He said funniest football moment was the groundsman at Rotherham yesterday pulling water back onto the pitch. Huh?
They were getting absolutely run around by Cardiff, and there was a load of rain, and they started spilling onto the pitch, and they were talking about possibly getting...
Oh, that's brutal.
They were talking about...
hello, what's happening? Kings against Queens, 2-3. Oh, a king and a queen.
That's brutal, honestly.
So,
I mean, that was mostly in on the flop, and he's... Oh, Paul. Yeah. Paul, you should be disgusted with yourself, honestly.
So the Cardiff grounds team have run over to try and help get the water off the pitch, so the game could go ahead. And the Rotherham groundsmen are raking it back onto
the pitch. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
Fantastic.
I mean, the bad thing is obviously they've got to be fined for it.
Yeah,
they're going to have to be fined for it.
Red cards all around, right to the ground crew.
Well, the trouble is, there's cameras all around. People can see what's happening. Oh, it was quite funny, and I don't know how long the game was halted for. But it's been 10, 15 minutes. But yeah,
that's brilliant.
Bit of a leak. Yeah, let's help get the water off so the game can continue. They're thinking we're getting done over here. We could do with this, but getting abandoned. Let's push all the water back on, so they have to abandon the game.
That is brilliant. Listen, Stu has joined the table, guys, and he's immediately thrown a bit of shade at Mr. Owston. Has Paul taken up the Owston role? So Paul with his fortunate hand.
If somebody doubles up again, I might come along for the free money.
Give them a chance, though, Dan. Show your cards.
You know, you're more than welcome, Dan. You are more than welcome.
I've been playing all day. I mean.
What are you playing? Have you been playing online, I presume? Anything in particular, Dan, at the moment, or just whatever takes your fancy?
Well, it's not really. It doesn't take my fancy. I'm playing a lot of 1-2 PLO on Stars.
Okay.
Purely because of the fact that I'm trying to rake enough points. They have like a bonus thing now that comes on every month, and if you get, I think it's 22,000 points, you get a point for every $5 in rake you generate.
Okay.
If you can get 22,000 points, you get an $1,800 bonus. But in earning that $1,800 bonus, you probably earn about 6 $300 chests as well. So
okay, so it's worth. And how much are you having to play to do that? What sort of volume do you have to put in?
A lot at 1-2. It's probably 6 hours a day over the month.
Bloody hell! Wow.
But if you could break even, you're making $3,500 for the month by breaking even. But whether or not you think you can play 1-2 PLO as a break-even game.
Can you though, Dan? I mean, what's the, is that possible? Or do you need a ton of run good or?
Obviously, 1-2 PLO is, let's just say, swingy.
Yeah. It's bound to be.
saying the least. I used to find it really profitable, but I don't know. Geez, we're all a lot of the APAT community are aged and infirm. But one of the first.
What are you trying to say?
I'll be honest. I thought he put it quite politely. to be completely honest,
Leigh sat there laughing, thinking, "Well, I'm the youngster of the group."
Hilarious.
Yeah.
And I'm 3 years off my bus pass.
I mean, to the point is, Des, basically, we don't even need to waste the time putting a seniors event on. Effectively, most of the time, most of the time it is a seniors.
I'm thinking like APAT 2030 is just going to be a super seniors, like just it is, isn't it?
Talking about seniors, just briefly before you carry on with that, Des, is the seniors at the WSOP, which was a ring event, which means they get to play in the Champion of Champions event, and we mentioned who won that. Mr. Beard won that, but it only had 30-something odd runners in
I
that.
know. What value?
So, huge value for ring events. The ladies event was a similar one. Not a huge amount of runners. Some great opportunities to get to play the Champion of Champions. Susie Williamson is won the ladies event, so she's got a chance of playing that Champion of Champions event. It's fantastic.
And an ex-APAT winner won the seniors as well.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. Yeah.
So why were the numbers small for this series? What do we think? I mean, I'm really surprised. I thought they'd get pretty big numbers. Obviously, it's Clash. There was a big Grosvenor festival the week before. I mean, I don't know if something like, I don't know what else impacts it.
I've got 2 big points on this. I'm not sure how well it's been publicised.
Yeah.
I don't think it has. And the distinct lack of possibilities of qualifying into it.
Yeah, there was no online options, wasn't there? So basically, it was
which brings me back to Simon's comment: as everybody is skint, so people don't mind, and a lot of recreational players who would play would like to try and qualify in, and chances are are quite going to put £50-100 into getting into it, but they're not going to stump up the whatever it was $11.50 or to play.
Yeah, it's what's really weird about it, Dan. From the time I was up there, I don't think they've hit many of the guarantees. Not missed them by much, but I mean the main they missed by about 60 runners. But even the sides, those little side events were picking up 30 runners. That's all it was. And normally a Friday night and a Saturday night at Dusk Till Dawn, we even whether APAT are up there or not, APAT aren't up there. It's busy. The bar's busy. It's got a vibe about it. It really felt quiet. Really did feel quiet. Now it could be that Cheltenham's been on this week.
Well, it could be a lot of people who enter there are big punters, and a lot of the big punters would have already planned to be at Cheltenham.
Yeah.
So it could be that. It could be that, to say, we're only a couple of weeks down the line from the huge event that Grosvenor put on in the end, which they put $1 million guarantee on it and did 1.4 million in the end on that one. So there's a possibility of that. And whether we like it or not, times are tough. It's not an easy one. And a lot of the satellite structures of what they put on, all for the build up to it, we're all getting you into the day 1A. So it wasn't great. I mean, Paul's in the chat saying, Paul's played this and said, it wasn't great for Rex. And of course, even this weekend, there was very little I could play if you weren't about for Monday, because everything rolls into the Monday. So the closer that's running today, day 2 is tomorrow.
Yeah.
So you just you couldn't play that if you were doing that. If you wanted to play the 6 max, you had to be in on the Wednesday or the Thursday, and then the day 2 was the Friday. Well, that's it's a struggle, isn't it? Especially for midday starts.
Yeah. And how do who's going to play the Wednesday knowing that day 2's the Friday, really?
Yeah, you're basically having to take the whole week off to kind of make it work. And so it's suited for pros. There were plenty of pros there, and say it's not a case of there wasn't people in the card room, and the cash tables were reasonably busy most evenings, but there wasn't by 9 o'clock there wasn't a huge amount left to do in the card room. And the one thing we have said, as much as we all love Dusk Till Dawn and the setup there and the staffing and everything, love the team up there. It is on an industrial estate in the middle of Nottingham. There's not a huge amount else to do. Hence why on the Saturday I went to the cinema for 3 hours. And it's up. But what I would say, and we shouldn't, having a WSOP event in the UK is a must. And there's only Rob and the guys there that are actually prepared to do that and put that on, and huge credit to them, because we want these things. They've got a WPT coming up. Obviously their UKPC stuff as well. We want that in the UK. Ideally, we want the WSOP Europe to always in the UK. Yeah. It's good for poker in this country. So
I think if that event was another 4 weeks down the line, I think you'd have seen a massive lot different.
Yeah, you could be right. You could be right, Dan.
March is always a really hectic month anyway.
But don't forget, 4 weeks down the line is right bang into the Irish Open, which is another huge festival, isn't it? So I don't know. It's finding the spaces, isn't it? To
and you said, Leigh, the guys have a big they've got a WPT event coming up, like with a £500 buy-in. That's brilliant.
So like the week I think it's the week after where we're there. So we're there in May. And I think the week after us, they've got a WPT on, and there's more stuff already on their schedule that's on the website. If you go on to DTD Live and check that out, it's already there. But we're the week after we're the warm-up act for a WPT. I know one thing for sure is the APAT event Dusk Till Dawn will be full for those days. That's for sure.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think when they get the live streaming sorted as well, it'll give them the opportunity to publicize a lot of these events much better, as well as still obviously coming to grips with all of that.
Yeah, and obviously live qualifiers will only appeal to a small number of individuals who don't have to travel a significant amount of time to get there, etc. Whereas were they to run online qualifiers, you've got the whole of the country who can prospectively get in for a reasonable price, and then they don't mind making the journey.
Yeah.
Because at least it's a limited cost once you're already in.
Yeah. Did you see this week that GG announced how many they were going to try and qualify for the main event over in Vegas this summer?
Yeah.
How many did they say, Leigh?
I want to say 600. Dan, does that sound about right?
Well,
Wow, great.
I saw 5, so yeah.
Okay, maybe, yeah. So along that ballpark number, which is, again, it's feeling like that's getting back up to kind of the where it was. I saw an interesting question I think Barry Carter put on Twitter this week, where he was trying to find out the answer to in Stars' heyday, how many did they qualify for the main event?
I want to say
it.
just under 1,300.
You reckon it was that many? Yeah. Okay.
So I know somebody who won 61 or 63 packages.
What, in 1 year?
Packages.
Wow.
You probably will know him. He's regular on the circuit, and he was a big online player at the time. He went by the name of Stevie444.
Yeah, I remember him. Yeah.
He's from Deal in Kent, ironically. And I believe it's Stephen Chidwick.
Ah, okay. Well, Stephen Chidwick, of course, gone on to make huge strides since then.
Online monster, absolute online.
Yeah.
And we're probably talking around about 2011 here.
Yeah, Carl is saying as well, Chidwick used to. Hey, listen, a possible exclusive for us here, guys. Nosy P, Wayne Parker, is in the chat box. Hi, guys. Would you like to hear the England team? Hold on. He's picked the England team in a week. How's he done that then?
He's probably taken your advice, which was don't ask for applications, just go and pick a team.
Go and pick a team. I wonder. I mean, should we? Can we get him to dial in? Would you call us, Wayne? Let me know in the chat box.
There's no way you'll get him on camera. No,
I don't need him on camera. I don't need him on camera, but I can get him to call me. Let us know in the chat box.
But to be honest, Wayne, we would love to know the England team. But it's great to see GG saying they're going to do that. And actually, I think the more sites that want to get people qualified for something like the main and are prepared to to get teams qualified out there, I think that back to the days as it used to be. I think that's fantastic for the game, that you can get yourself out to the main in online in advance.
Yeah. There's one major concern about it all now, is that how do you play the satellites? Because you can't deposit on GG Poker, you can't put over $200 on there unless you can prove you're earning 50 grand a year.
Yes. So where we are at the moment with the Gambling Commission and the kind of rules and regs of
so they're going to really struggle. I mean, I don't know what the regs are like in America. I presume the majority of them satellites will be American-based and American players, and maybe they got completely different rules and regulations.
Well, you can't. Can you play on GG in America? You can't.
I don't know.
No, I don't think you can. I think it's pretty much rest of the world. I'm pretty sure GG, you can't play on GG in the States.
Or is it state regulated?
Unless they're up and running, they might be up and running in some of the states. But I don't think
New Jersey's now got online poker.
It does, yeah, because Stars are up and running there, and actually they're amalgamating. I think they've got, is it about 5 states they're in at the moment, and they're talking about bringing that in as a liquidity pool altogether now. So, which is I think is a great step forward for getting back in the.
I mean, look, it has to go. Ultimately, the trouble is when you've got certain states in when another state applies for a license, obviously you set a precedent. So unless you can just turn around and come up with a blatant argument to say, I know there's some bloody minded states with their own regulations, but as more get involved, it's harder for others to refuse licenses. So
Simon says, Dan, in the chat, he's saying Club GG. So that's how they're playing in the States. Yeah. So they're using Club GG to do that.
Okay.
Which is a little get around, isn't it?
This is why we need people like Simon Lawler tuning in, because they know far more about what's going on in the poker world than myself. Because
absolutely, and I think Wayne has chosen to be a bit of a tease for us. He's basically saying coming soon, which is a well used APAT line. Over the years, I have to say, he's learnt well. The lad has. Simon wants to know, is Ivan Toney in it? He might be in it. Ivan Toney. I mean, who was the bloke that played for Germany a couple of years ago? Max Cruz, right? Fantastic.
We mentioned Ivan Toney. I mean, guys, what's your view with what's going on with Ivan Toney at the moment? Should he have been called up to the England squad with what he's admitted to having done and is still being investigated? Is it until it goes through? It's okay, or where do you stand on these things?
Well, I wouldn't have picked him personally, which is a shame because I think he deserves a call up. But he would. I mean, he would appear.
I think that was the reason that he wasn't taken to the World Cup, and I think that was a highly contributing factor for him not being taken to the World Cup. Then it's a bit hypocritical, but it's still going on to pick him now.
Yeah. Is Michael Owen still injured?
yeah. He's sadly unavailable. Yeah.
But I don't know. I think sporting bodies make their own rules as to what suits them at the time. There's been a lot of rule changes in certain things. I mean, was it only this weekend that Mark King's just been banned for betting a regular?
I saw that. Yeah.
He's
still not found guilty, but he's not
under
investigation.
He's not the first, but getting found guilty actually doesn't mean anything because John Higgins was found guilty. And he was back playing in a year's time.
True.
And yet, what's his name? Stephen Leigh hasn't played for 15 years.
Oh yeah, and he was a great little player, wasn't he, Stephen?
Yeah, for doing similar but a lot less than John Higgins did. Yeah. So I think we're going back to the consistency thing here. For me, if you're a professional sportsman and you're found to do something like that, and it's without doubt. The trouble is, and it's without doubt. So that's the guarantee. Because these things are
he's admitted a number of the charges, isn't he? Although he's not actually yet been decided what the punishment's going to be. He was up for 200 and something odd counts of whatever. He is admitted to some of those. So kind of you do feel okay. So there is clearly something there. So it does seem a little bit bizarre to then go.
But have you seen the ones he's admitted to?
No, I mean, I'm not looking at the details.
He's like, yeah, okay, I'm in the pub with my mates, and, he's like, oh, are you in the squad tomorrow? Yeah, definitely be playing tomorrow because there's 6 guys missing, etc., etc. But,
right, okay.
So he's not doing it in that position.
How have they found that sort of level of detail? I mean, who's dobbed him in of that sort of level of detail to kind of go which ones it's
who's the grass? Come on, who's grassed him up?
They've only found this level of detail because what they've done is they've looked at ones with irregular betting patterns and they've gone back, and some are more irregular than others, and some of the slimmer ones, he's like, oh, that game I can remember, I was out with Dave Stagdo, and I said, a couple of the guys are missing, so people are like, oh, we'll bet against you then. Do you know what I mean? And
yeah, okay.
But look, the reality is, even if that's the scenario we're looking at here, and that feels light for me. But anyway, even if it is the scenario, he knows what he's doing. And he knows why he's doing it. And he shouldn't be doing it. Don't do it. That's like it's insider trading, isn't it? It's insider knowledge. He shouldn't be doing it. It's so much easier just not to do it. Particularly if he's not profiting himself. Why the hell would you do it?
Because when you have a conversation with someone, you don't always think of the implications.
He knows. He knows.
Be used. And you're a 19-year-old kid.
Oh, so when did this happen? Did this happen years ago?
This has happened over 3. He's only about 23 now, isn't he?
Is he?
22,
I thought he was a bit
23.
older.
Is he?
He's not. Yeah, I mean, he's mid-20s at the oldest. Yeah.
So would you get odds on that? 23.
Yeah.
So this was spanning back, over 3 years, and this investigation was last year. So we're looking at starting 4 years ago.
Yeah. Crikey.
I mean,
blimey.
If he's not been betting on it, it's a tough one.
Yeah. Look, I don't even think he should be in the conversation. I'd have Erling Haaland up front.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that'll
Haaland
work.
Into the squad.
Yeah. I'd have Antti Niemi in goal for Scotland.
I hear he's Finnish. Oh no, he was playing last week, man.
That is one of the greatest call-ins.
No, he's finished. No, man, he's going strong.
Yeah, it's one of the best call-ins I've ever heard.
Finished. He's bloody 28, man.
That's right. No, he's finished. Huh? I thought he was Scottish.
So Dan, talking about picking teams, have you obviously we've not had you since we confirmed the captains for the Worlds, and you're picking up the mantle for the Welsh this year.
Well, somebody has to be the first Welsh losing captain, so I threw myself to the ring. I'm only ever on to a loser because I can't do any better than previous Welsh teams, only worse.
So have you got a plan on how are you gonna have you already got people in mind, or
he's bringing back the 2010 team, Leigh? He's got to be bringing back the 2010 team.
Well, the one that's still alive, possibly.
The ones that still have their teeth. Bring him in. Come on.
It's a tough one because obviously we've had an online series and we managed to win that. I can't remember how many live series I've been involved in with Wales, but I think it's 3.
Oh, at least 3 wins.
In all of them.
Yeah.
So there's a number of names across there who are.
But those teams were. It wasn't the same 4 or 5, was it? Because you've had both of the rudders in there. You've had Dylan. Obviously, Paul Mack was obviously involved in that.
Yeah.
This is the problem you've got, isn't it? You've got quite a pool there.
Ben Young was in one of them.
Yeah. So
I think Rodgers was in one of them.
Yeah. It's a hell of a panel. You've got
obviously Greg Mawson was in the online one.
Yeah.
And if you take even those players out, there's still a significant number of incredibly talented Welsh players.
Yeah, I agree.
I've got to be honest, this week has been a bit of a minefield with Cheltenham.
Well, I don't know whether you saw at Dustle Dawn this week, but there's a young player called Roberto Romanello that won the super high roller at Dustle Dawn. Apparently, he'd taken a break from his paper round, Dan.
Yeah, really?
Yeah. That's all I'm saying.
Paper round.
Yeah.
Do you really think he's going to? Do you think he's going to want to reinvest some of that 66 grand into the team event?
Do you know what? He might just be able to buy the entire team in. Yeah. You might be good.
Although I did see the hand where he got it all in. How he managed to dodge 73 outs. There's only 41 cards in the deck. Did you see it?
Yeah, he did run rather well, didn't he? Yeah, in a couple of spots. Yeah. It was,
I tell you.
What's he up against? Top set and an up and down straight flush draw.
But it was really nice to see him playing, and it was nice to watch it on the stream. And it was a good bit of, and it's good for the. I don't know how much does he still play much actually, Roberto, or not? I'm still trying to chase him down on the Hendon mob as the all-time Welsh leading cashers. I'm just out the top 10 these days, so I've got to obviously my 850 quid from the other day I'll add a little bit to it. So
do you know, I wouldn't know who's it. You were in the top 10, were you?
When I had the one win, it did get me into the top 10, but I've since then dropped out of the top 10. I'm not sure where I am these days. I think I'm still top 20, but
I'm thinking it's got to be Roberto top. Is Dave Colclough still second?
It could well be. I think the one in the top 10 at least is no longer with us. I think I'll have to bring it up on the screen. Let me see if I can get.
Dave's definitely no longer.
Well, listen, the family
there might be more than that. Yeah,
the family.
Chip shop,
several. So he's definitely in the business.
I'd imagine. I know Ewan was quite high at one point. Robert Cowan must be up there as well now.
Yeah, that name rings a bell. Yeah, let me see if I can bring up the.
I'd say Robert Cowan's probably third. He's had some really, really good wins, and he's a great player and a nice bloke. No specialist. He'd be good to draft into the team. I'll have to see what my powers of.
When do you? So Wayne is saying he'll have a team next week. He says he's been working on it since December, so he's obviously thought long and hard about it. So he might have a team for us next week. He's just dotting the I's, crossing the T's. I see Frank is in the chat as well, which is great to see. Frank,
did you say he's been working on it since December?
Well, I'm guessing he got the nod on his captaincy a bit early. So fair enough.
So they've got 92.6% of the population to choose from, but they need.
They've had more time. They've had more time. Well, but that comes with great expectations as well.
Right, I've now got the list up, so we can so I can run through it for you. You are right. Roberto is top with 4.3 million.
Dave's got about 3.
Yeah. So Dave Colclough 2.6. Okay. Then Mansour
Matt
Luby, just over 2 million.
WSOP main event winner.
Yes. Wow. His banner is up in Vegas, isn't it? Yeah. So
didn't even know he was Welsh.
Not many people do. I'm going to say like 1990.
Wow.
Yeah. So then Ewan Jones, 1.7 million.
Okay.
Then I was a little bit zoned out with who you were mentioning. So I don't think you've mentioned this player yet. Had one very big cash. Don't think he's on the scene anymore. In Europe. WSOP, I think it was.
Yeah. Ooh. Welsh. Now you
finished. I want to say finished second. I think finished second to. Did finish second to Annette?
Annette's Welsh. Obviously, we all know that.
Yeah, I might have finished second to Annette.
I've got a funny story about Annette.
Let's come back to that. Let's come back to that. No.
Yeah, so finished runner-up to Annette at WSOP Europe in London back in 2007.
No, you've got me. I should know.
John Tabatabai.
Oh.
Yeah, of course. He did. He finished runner-up to Annette. I was there for that final table.
So he's at 1.6 million. Then down in 6th is Richard Harris with just over 500,000. Weirdly, Matthew Stevens is on this list. I think
he won the party. I
think it is one cash. I'm pretty sure.
$500,000.
I think it is one cash. It's just over $500,000. I think it is one cash, isn't it? I'm pretty sure.
It was the Paddy Power celeb sit and go thing.
Oh, something okay. Like he's actually got he's got 2 other little cashes on there
over
after the
Ireland,
$500,000.
Maybe you might have got something over in Ireland as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So but pretty much $500,000. So he's on that list as well. Then Jeremy Knock has got 445,000. Ben Martin has got 328,000. And Owen Carey has got 266,000. So that's the top 10. Then Kerry Reese is in 11th with 230,000. And then little old me in 12th.
Wow. Exalted company.
Yeah.
Wow. And to think you're now sleeping in your car. It's unbelievable. It's exactly. The depth of fall was just incredible, I have to say.
So I need about another 40,000 to get back into the top 10. So I think you could do it.
You could do it. You could do that.
You're 12th with how much?
200, just shy of 230,000.
Bloody hell. That's good, that.
I want to know where I am then.
1,000, you say? How the hell did you do that?
Yeah, no, don't, because they all start going on in the chat. We talk about it, so we can't talk.
No.
You can't be, Dan. You can't. You must be on that list somewhere.
Am I there, Leigh?
Oh, there you are, Dan. You're 24th.
Oh, I thought you were talking about me there.
You've got 77,742.
No chance.
What, you think it's more than that?
Well, I got 46 in one event.
Well, unless you're down on different or something's not. You didn't go anonymous, did you?
No.
They probably spelled Owston wrong. I did that once or twice myself over the years. You've got 2 or 3 different accounts.
I'll be honest, Dan. It's a lovely photo of you on your Hendon mob. It's very nice.
Is Chubba there, Leigh? Chubba Akbon?
Chubba? Oh no, he's not. No, he's not.
Apparently, we've been dodging Stu's comments, dodging them.
Weirdly, Dan, it's got your Yeah, do you know what? I think it must be on different accounts here, Dan, because between 2015 and 2022, there's nothing on there for you. So there might be another account somewhere.
I was going to say Robert Cowan. All right, he's got him with English here.
Oh, didn't Leigh win something once?
No. Yes, I did. I finished 3rd in a win the button competition the weekend.
Very recently.
That's the one we're talking. Very recently, honestly. It's all about your most recent cash. Yeah, that's all that matters.
That's why. That's why. It's got Robert Cowan as English.
Okay. How much is he? He earned?
Was he? He's lived in Wales all his life. He might have been born in England. 1 point. Well, his best live cash is 1.4. But I don't know what his total is. I'm just looking now. 3.3.
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah, I mean that is the thing with the Hendon. I mean, some people don't care about the Hendon mob, so they don't necessarily make sure that all the right details are on or anything like that. Yeah.
No, I have just looked, and Dan Owston England has earned more money than Dan Owston Wales.
You're in as David,
and I've got a David Owston. Yeah.
There you go. Intriguingly, apparently, me and Phil TC, me being Stu, once sent Leigh a picture of us picking his nose. Oh, I know. That was the big. You had a big banner, didn't you? Was that at the Rio, Leigh? Was that at the Rio?
Well, it wasn't at the Rio. It was. I don't know where they were actually. I think they ended up at Dusk Till Dawn, but I think they did the. do you remember when Rob and the guys did the football stadium tours?
Yes.
So they had these big banners done to kind of kind of champion of sort of area and that kind of thing to promote those, and so they were using that. And I think they ended up at I don't know where they are now. Funnily, if Paul was chatting about them the weekend, I said they're probably in some lockup somewhere in Nottingham, gathering dust, I reckon. So
probably
the best
all
thing
up
about
in
the stadium was the pool tournaments that went on alongside them.
Yes, they did do pool tournaments and everything. I mean, the kit that they had to do those stadium tours. I get the impression it's a never again. Des, isn't it? I think is that they wouldn't be too keen to do that again. But I think to tick that off as having done something like that for those that got to play it. I went and played the one in Cardiff, and it was great fun. Really good.
You know, there were 40,000-50,000 people at each event.
Because they had online day ones for it and all sorts of stuff, didn't they? It was absolutely crazy.
I mean, they had a huge amount of support for it. So I mean, fair play to them.
But they were rocking up with 3 HGVs full of kit to be able to put these things on. I mean, it just doesn't. I don't know what sort of reg fee you'd need to genuinely charge for actually to be able to make the thing kind of break even for you.
Honestly, I think we were the only one that made money out of that whole thing, Leigh. I have to say.
Yeah.
Listen, I mentioned that Frank was in the chat, and he comments, "What about the game on Saturday, Grand Slam?" Let's just talk about this for a minute. That was a grand old Irish campaign in the Six Nations, was it not? They've somehow managed to keep a fairly high level of expectation up over those 5 games. Would you give them any chance in September?
Yes, yeah, massively.
Do you think
the world number one? Would you give the world number one any chance?
Yeah, they're the world's number one. Yeah.
I know. I get all of that. I mean, I'm talking as an Irishman, right?
Yeah, but I know what happens is it's always the thing that teams peak for the World Cup, and that's what they're aiming for. And so you just don't know what's going to come from the Southern Hemisphere. Certainly not from Australia, because they're not anywhere near.
No, I'd say the dark horse of any of them is South Africa.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, I would agree.
I'll tell you what.
Obviously, the obvious danger is New Zealand, but you can beat New Zealand on their day. You've done it plenty of times.
Yeah, but I'm sat here worried about the bloody group. We're in with France and bloody Scotland.
Well, you don't know where France are going to.
That's a tough group.
I mean, so what you take? So what you take out the Six Nations that's just gone? Basically there were 2 quality sides in there really in Ireland and France.
I thought the Scots were good, Leigh. I thought they were good.
But they're not consistent enough in what they're doing. Wales are nowhere to be seen. England, I don't know what's going on with that squad of players. Because again, they've got such a pool of players to choose from, and it just has gone absolutely wrong at the moment. If you're an Irish fan, you've got to be saying, this you're not going to get many better opportunities to.
I'd agree with that.
It feels similar to when we lost to France in the semis, a couple of World Cups back. That was our chance to get to a World Cup final. I don't know when we'll next get that opportunity. This is Ireland's opportunity, I think, and thoroughly deserved, because absolutely miles better than anybody else in the championship.
Yeah, they played good rugby, I have to say. Some great scoring, and they seem to be able to do it both early in games and late in games as required. So it will be really interesting to see these boys play in September, albeit, you can't help but think it's just going to be tinged with sadness, but we shall see. Chelsea.
Yeah, but you've got to be. You'd want to be going into a World Cup as world number one. I mean, I don't know what more. What more can you hope? It's what you've got to go for, isn't it?
And you're saying tinged with sadness. No offense, but
yeah,
I think that they've been on an incredible run, and it's nothing to do with luck. It's because they've been playing some superb rugby. Some of them results, they're probably unlucky not to have won more, and they could have certainly beaten Wales by an awful lot more, apart from the game was over after 15 minutes.
Partially, I'm a bit pessimistic, I suppose, because they actually went into the last World Cup as a world number one as well. That didn't work out at all well for them. So, it's a little bit about when you peak and stuff like that. And of course, for a country like Ireland, you need to keep all of your players super fit. Johnny Sexton come to the end of his career, so that was his last Six Nations.
But
I guess,
also,
who knows?
like football, I'm going to say the ranking system is probably not the greatest system in the world.
Yeah. I just feel like we're missing a couple of giants, a couple of seriously big players. Because inevitably when you get to the World Cup, the All Blacks or even Australia, but certainly South Africa, they tend to have just giants. And I don't see that many giants in the Irish team, which gives them great agility, right? They're fast.
I mean, what I would say is you've never as a nation gone in too cocky and too confident
No, never.
about these tournaments. You do go in a kind of like, okay, well, it's going to be, we'll see what it is and see what happens. But I think you should be, quietly confident that you can do the biz and on your day, definitely.
The pressure's all on the All Blacks. You can say Ireland are number one, but the pressure is not on them. The pressure is on New Zealand to perform.
I don't think anybody expects
the games as the favourite, and they failed to deliver.
Yeah.
Well, actually, and to possibly be back-to-back World Cups where they don't make the final, for the All Blacks is a huge thing.
Yeah.
So why not?
Yeah. I mean, I think that would make it a great final. I'd like to see it Ireland. Ireland, New Zealand. I'd like to see them.
Yeah, it will come around quickly. The guys in the chat box were talking about poker and the ISPT tour and the Stadiums tour that D2D put on back in the day. Simon Allen was saying, I got to play Carl Fogarty, Melinda Messenger, and Ekin Fenway at the Brighton one. Great events. They were great events. Geez, even I didn't realise there was that sort of many celebs at these things if Simon was set with those guys on one or two tables. Natalie said, true fact, I taught Carl Fogarty how to play poker. And Simon Allen comes back with having sat next to him, not something to be proud of.
Oh dear, yeah.
Good guy, Akin Fenway, big Liverpool fan.
I can remember the first David v Goliath tour and watching a couple of the watching in the back room a couple of the Grosvenor pros giving David Hay some hints and tips before playing his first ever.
Did you ever watch? They did like a kind of a fly on the wall documentary thing of that, him having him not wanting to turn up to the to do the training and couldn't be bothered, and Jeff Kimber getting pretty hacked off by the whole thing.
Learn the rules, what?
And he really was not interested. He was like, I'm here because I'm being paid to be, and then obviously the Goliath started, and I'm like, the one thing I would say, he was basically told, sit down, play, have some fun, try and build a stack. P.S. You can have as many bullets as you like, and you don't have to queue up or register as an alternate or so on. Like, talk about an unfair advantage. Like,
oh, really?
Oh no, yeah. They're talking about.
He fired a lot of bullets at that comp. Oh yeah.
I mean, it was impossible not to go through the stack because you could just go in and shove your chips in blind 6 times, and you can. But so there was no queuing up, and there was no thing. There was no waiting to get in as an alternate, and obviously there was no limit on the amount of entries. So all well and good with the publicity that they were doing, but it was a bit farcical.
Yeah, well, I suppose that's what they were doing, right? That the objective there was solely about publicity, trying to attract a few new players in, and it looks to have done that. I mean, Grosvenor seems to be doing really well at the moment, which is nice to see.
What I would say, I mean, as good as Goliath is as an event, what they've just put on, the UK Open, that's done the numbers that's done, which didn't require the big hiring the big the halls and that at Coventry. That was all running just in the casino in Cov. it just goes to show that actually maybe that's the point. Is it getting a lot tougher to put these small buy-in comps on? We're one of the few that still can make it work for people, but it's a lot tougher to do. Most of them are now self-dealt and that kind of stuff. It is tough.
I've got to be honest, Grosvenor are doing something right. They really do something right. Because it doesn't matter where they if they go to Leeds, if they go to London, if they go down, they're getting these tournaments filled. They're getting the 2025. They're getting good numbers on there on a regular basis. They're getting good numbers for their main events on a regular basis. They're getting some lovely, ridiculously good prize pools, to be honest with you. And it's only good for live poker.
Yeah. Yeah, agree. Long may it continue.
No, absolutely. It's the way it should be. So we're on football-wise, we're on an international break coming up, aren't we? Is it Euro qualifiers? Is that what's is it we round the corner for? Is that I must admit I kind of lose track whether it's Euro qualifiers or Nations League or what it is that actually everyone's
no idea.
Everyone's playing these days. No, it's but I think it's a couple of weeks off before then comes back to a really busy Premier League. Do you guys think is fourth place still an option for your boys? Is that still on the cards, or are these next 3 games going to kind of really decide it?
Well, the next 3 games are tough ones, right? Arsenal, Chelsea, and City. City up first. So that's going to be a tough 3 games given how we're playing. Albeit, arguably, we might do better in those 3 games than we might against the 3 bottom clubs in the league because they're much more likely to come and play against us. That works for us. But I think it'll come down to, as Klopp would say, whether others will drop points. And you'd have to say Spurs and or Newcastle both look a bit frail. So I don't think it's over yet. But I can't look at Liverpool and think they're going to string together 7 wins in a row. I just can't see it.
So mentioning Spurs, what did you make of Conte's press conference?
Well, I personally didn't see it. I've read about it, but I haven't seen the video, so I haven't seen it. But I heard it was just horrendous. Does the guy want to get sacked? I mean, what did he say, Leigh? I don't know if Dan's seen it, so Dan can maybe comment.
Well, I only picked it up on Match of the Day, and they'd obviously done the post-match interview with him.
He basically said they're not interested.
Yeah. So he did the post-match interview with them, and then Mark Chapman said, and if you think that was negative, this is what he had to say in the press conference. They then played that, and he effectively was saying Spurs have been Spursy for 20 years. It's not the manager's fault. The players aren't committed. There's no fight in them. What do you want me to do? I can just go off and there's no point in me being the manager if they're not going to change. Basically blaming everybody else for it. And I suppose he's got a point to a certain extent because it's not like.
But as a manager, do you not have a certain level of control over how the players act and?
Oh, Jesus, yes.
You just thought so. I guess the point is that Spurs have now. I suppose from Daniel Levy's point of view, you go, well, okay, I've in the past few managers, I've put Jose Mourinho in there, and I've put Conte in there, both two winners.
But
these guys know how to. Yeah, these guys know how to win, and neither of them could actually really get Spurs up competing for trophies.
I think, in fairness to Levy, I think Conte was obviously, he wants to be able to say, "Look, I told you so," right? So he's getting his sacking speech in before he gets sacked, right? So that he can sort of, this is why they've sacked me. But I think there's only one man for the Spurs job. It's obvious. I'd get Frank Lampard in there as soon as you can. Ideally for this final run-in of games, so we can, get the Reds back into Europe.
But so Conte's contract runs out at the end of the summer, doesn't it? Yes. So it's a case of actually it's just not going to get renewed. So if you were Spurs now, would you go for a change now and just say, okay,
straight in?
He's talking like that. If they've not got anyone definitely lined up, obviously, for whatever people might think about the way Spurs are playing, they're still in that top 4 mix.
Yeah. Well, it looks like it looks like they're going to be a bit late to get Roy Hodgson. It looks like he's going to Palace.
So where should they be? Where's their expectation?
Well, exactly, but I mean, I guess it's a case of they'd like to win a trophy, because but it is I don't know whether top fours are. I mean, if Spurs got top four this season, I think that would be a pretty decent achievement.
Yeah, but I think going into the season, Leigh,
I think that'd be overachieving.
But no, but listen, going into the season, gents, surely they'd have seen themselves ahead of both Arsenal and Man United. You know, in terms of going into the season, right? As the season has transpired, Arsenal have come from nowhere.
Okay, but what? No. Yeah, but if you actually look at the quality and the strength and depth in the squad, which of them Tottenham players would you say are good enough to rank them ahead of either Arsenal?
Dan, I agree with you completely. I'm talking about expectations, right? So Levy, as the chairman of Spurs, would probably have thought, they were in a Champions League final 2 seasons ago. Probably have thought, we should be able to outlast United and Arsenal, both of whom are a little more inconsistent than we are. So, alongside Liverpool and City, that gives us a decent chance with Chelsea to be in the top 4. But Chelsea have fallen off of a cliff. Arsenal have found themselves, fair play, respect, and United have done so also.
Okay, but I'm going to say by the same token, they'd have expected to also be behind Chelsea and Liverpool.
Yeah. But I think they might have thought we can probably scrape into 4th.
Yeah, scrape.
Scrape. Definitely scrape. Definitely scrape.
And where are they at the moment?
Exactly doing that, aren't they?
I think. I think they are, but I think they're not. They're scraping. Right, they're scraping, and Liverpool aren't there, and Chelsea aren't there. Do you know? So, this is it. I think they're underperforming.
It's back to what I said. The problem is, it's back to what I said a couple of weeks ago, which is the way the Premier League has now gone.
Yeah, it's tough.
Is there's a number of teams now that feel they should be top 4. So both the Manchester clubs feel they should be, Liverpool feel they should be, both the North London clubs feel they should be, Chelsea feel they should be, Newcastle are now going to feel they should be.
Yeah, definitely.
There's only ever 4 places. It's what do you do? It's a super competitive league, and you're right, Dan, when you say, well, so what do Tottenham fans expect? What do they want? Well, they've got what they consider to be a world-class stadium. They've got they've got what they consider to be a competitive squad. Yet they put good managers in that can't seem to actually take them onto that next level.
It all depends. A manager is just a front for the team as well. It all depends on what goes on behind the scenes, and that brings you back to Levy and how much control he has with buying, selling, and actually sometimes who gets picked for. I mean, I can remember. One of the big things when Mourinho left Chelsea, and he said Abramovich bought Shevchenko and said, "You will play him. He's not good enough to play my team. Well, I bought him. You are playing him. I don't want him, but you're playing him anyway." Do you know what I mean? So to force blame onto the manager isn't always accurate, because they're not the people with the money. They don't always pull the strings, even though they are on the face of it. I guess the whipping boy. Yeah. But it's not always solely down to them. And I'm sure with Spurs, I think there's a lot of things in the background where Levy is actually responsible, but ultimately not accountable, because he's not the face of it. He says, well, I'm just the money man. I get the best people in. I tell them what to do, and they don't do it properly.
Well, listen, talking about slippery fish who don't like to be seen as accountable, what's this I hear about Trump potentially getting arrested next week? Have you been following that at all? An old favourite of the APAT show, Mr. Trump.
It's Tuesday, isn't it? I heard.
Yeah.
Tuesday, right? I think.
Yeah, I think he's announced it himself. They're coming to take me away, haha. Let's hope they do, eh? Let's hope they do. So is this over the rigging of the election claims, or the hoarding of secrets in Florida claim, or the lack of paying tax? I mean, or the Stormy Daniels? Is that a tax thing or a reputational thing? I can't keep up with it, guys. I can't keep up with it.
I'm not sure what it is, but do we really think that he's? They've got to be very careful, because they've got to make sure that they really do have some pretty hard, evidence against him. Otherwise, what he ends up becoming, he very quickly turns to become the victim, and then his followers get properly behind him, isn't it? So,
absolutely.
I mean, What would you prefer? I suppose if it is Tuesday, would you prefer a bunch of his supporters there defending him, saying you're not taking him a lot, or would it be better if actually nobody cared and just that's what happened?
I'm saying it's got to a point now where all these allegations. I'm not saying they're baseless, but I think some of them have just exponentially grown and become slightly more elongated and fabricated than they originally were, because for every supporter he's got a hater, and people come out the woodwork, and Jimmy Savile, well, he dies, a couple of people come out and Jimmy touched me, and within a year 1,500 people have said, well, Jimmy touched me, do you know what I mean? And I think it's the same thing with Trump, apart from the fact that he is still alive, but for every person who's there who's got his back, you've got all these people now who are, after their 15 minutes, and just, as I said, they know he's got an awful lot of support, but the ones who dislike Trump really dislike Trump.
But the point is, Dan, is that the last election there, pretty much half the country voted for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a case of actually, he's some sort of minority figure or whatever, isn't it? Yeah,
the country is literally split. The country is literally split between half Trump and half the rest of them put together.
Well, but as I understand it, and I might be wrong about this, it would appear that a lot of the Republicans now are actually tiring of Trump and all of the bullshit that he carts around with him. It's like it's become embarrassing. So I don't know whether that splits down into 50-50 Republicans. They sort of, would rather not have him. But, obviously they're going to have to get behind somebody. And if it's split, they can't win a presidential election, right? If it's split. Because there'll be weak support for Trump if he eventually gets the ticket, I guess. I don't know. I mean, that's my understanding over there, that actually there's a lot of unhappiness within the Republican movement with regards to Trump now.
So, I mean, this might be a controversial and unpopular opinion, but when Trump actually won the election, I was behind Trump to win.
But that was back in 2016 or 2016? Is that right?
16, yeah.
Hang on, are you claiming you were the puppet master that got Trump his election win, Dan? Is that what you're saying? I mean, it sounded like that's what you were saying. I mean,
he said that, folks. He said that.
Well. And my only reason behind it is because at the time it was the for me it was the choice of two huge evils. I don't think there was a good choice out of the two. And
who did he run against again?
Hillary.
Oh, right, he did. Yeah, Hillary's emails. That's
he won
right.
Against Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
And I still maintain my view that had Hillary won, she's a lot more. I mean, if you look at what come out about Hillary, I mean, the backhanded things that she done, which was almost as bad as, well, pretty much as bad as Trump, but she was clever. She is a lot cleverer than Trump. She is calculated, and I swear to God, if Hillary had got into power, we would have seen World War III.
I don't think anybody wields the power stick as well as Trump does. I have to say, I respect your views on Hillary, but Trump. He set new standards. He scaled new heights. Do you remember what he? Do you remember what he did on January the 6th when he poured his people, Voldemort style, to attack the Capitol? Amazing stuff. I mean, entertaining, right? If you don't live there, it's entertaining. Apart from the potential for the world wars that Dan mentioned, but I mean, we're getting them anyway, right? So,
are we?
It feels like it.
Well, how do you think Hillary would have dealt with what's gone on in Ukraine and everything? Do you think that would have just sped up a lot of that kind of stuff? When you say, is that what you think, Dan? Is it would have sped up a lot of that kind of what Putin's ended up doing, that kind of thing?
No, I obviously that wasn't even on the radar at the time.
No.
No, I think literally she would have started an argument with a nation, and genuinely think that she would have started a genuine World War B. Could have been Russia, could have been China. I think at the time it probably would have been China.
Yeah, okay.
And we don't want that.
Yeah. I mean, talking about arrests and Putin, obviously there's now an arrest warrant out for him. But do we think that's ever likely to be a thing that's he's ever going to be in a country where someone's going to go, yeah, right, we'll slap the cuffs on you. Well, is that really going to be a thing?
Ironically, he's in Ukraine at the moment. He's
well,
doing
allegedly
a tour of building works, by all accounts, in Mariupol.
Yeah.
Allegedly,
yeah.
I must say his hand's a lot steadier than it has been in previous videos that we've seen. So
exactly.
I'll give you that. I'll give you that.
It is questionable, but again, it's amazing how the propaganda can work wonders, isn't it? That's one thing that doesn't really change.
To be honest, it's a horrible time for politics because we had just as bad a choice over here. What did we have at the time? Corbyn or Boris? Oh no, Theresa May or I don't know.
Yeah, it wasn't great.
Back then, no, and it hasn't been great. Well, I made money on the very short-lived prime minister. Liz Truss.
Spotting that. Good spotting.
Yeah. No, it was an obvious move. I mean, it's the problem is now but you're right, Dan. Even now you look and go, what are the options? It's not. It's not great at the moment, is it? What we struggle, and again, I've said this on the show in previous episodes. We're lacking leaders. We're lacking world leaders, not just this country, but actually,
we're just lacking people with leadership qualities.
Yeah. That actually are prepared to go and do that. And you're finding that when you do have those that potentially do it and have got that potential, they're getting burned out in what they do. I mean, look what's happened in New Zealand. Where she's just gone. Yeah, I feel like I've done my bit. I can't. I'm not here to do this for a serious length of time.
Do you not feel that in the world in the world of TikTok and Facebook and Insta and social media, etc., there is that unbelievable 27 pressure to never do anything wrong? Where 20 years ago, these people could go out and live. I'm not saying a relatively normal life, but get it. They wouldn't have to be. Now you have to be squeakier than squeaky clean. And actually, you don't just have to be squeaky clean. You have to prove that you have been squeakier than squeaky clean every single day of your life since you were 19.
Yeah, forever.
Because somebody is going to bring up something, and it's inevitable.
Yeah. So who is in a situation where there's not going to be a skeleton in the closet of some sort, which might actually be not very much, but it can very quickly be spun up to being a big deal.
And how many of these people know that them skeletons exist and think, well, the day I end up being prime minister, this is going to come out because so and so is going to sell us to tabloid for $250,000, and A, my career is going to be instantly over, and B, my reputation is going to be destroyed. So I'm going to say a lot of these people who could potentially have these qualities and things will never even go it because they're going to not only insta fail, but they're going to destroy everything they've already built up. And I think that's such a huge percentage of the population.
Or you can have that invisibility cloak that some of the big guys like Trump has, and just simply go, "No, I didn't do that. That wasn't me." No.
Well, Trump got to the level, which is a great thing to do, where some of the stuff that he was doing if it was anybody else, it would absolutely kick off. For most of the world population were just going, it's just Trump, isn't it? Yeah, it's just Trump doing what Trump does, because you fire that much stuff at the world that most of the world just goes, it's just Trump being Trump.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, he probably was one of the most influential and impregnable people. But yeah, he still had all that come at him because there are still people, and and even though he could fight it and he had massive backers, he still had to deal with that onslaught.
But you only have to look at what happened in this country. So obviously Liz Truss didn't last very long. Rishi comes in, who most people took the view is, that's going to be fairly squeaky clean. We'll have a fairly level. We'll just get this through to the next general election. And within weeks of him coming in, all of a sudden, dirt's coming out, stuff's dropping about Hancock doing this and that, and you need to sort this. It's all this stuff, and then
the irregularities with his missus's business and the finance and all done the COVID relief money is given the country to supply hampers to people for 19 million a week. And do you know what I mean?
Which is unstabilizing what's going on, and therefore you don't ever have anyone that can just go, I'm just going to get here and do a good job and try and make things better, because you're basically firefighting most of your time to try and keep yourself in a job.
And also, I don't know what Prime Minister gets paid anymore. About $100,000 a year.
Yeah, I think it's only about. I think MPs are on about. I want to say about 70. I think, and I think the Prime Minister salary is not significantly more than that.
No. Yeah, I'm going to say it's about $100,000 a year. So who's going to give up their reputation, their thing, and know all the Stewart's going to come out and run?
Yeah.
I mean, there is the prestige of running the country, and the kudos and everything that comes with that. If you know that all these skeletons aren't coming out of the closet, but because of social media, to know that that's never going to happen, you just have I don't think these people exist. These people who are whiter than white.
No, so the reality is you're taking everybody with a little bit of baggage and whatever, and hoping that actually they genuinely are in the role because they want to do some good and try and make the world a better place. I don't even know who's in the running for the next one. I really don't. Who would be favourite to take over next? What, over in the States?
No, here.
Oh, here. Well, I mean, it's a pretty much at the moment a fairly safe certainty that I think if you did a general election, had a general election today, Labour would win it, and so there it doesn't really matter who's leading the Conservatives, whether they would stick with the current leader and go. But at the moment, as it stands, I think Labour is sort of 25 points ahead in the polls, and it's looking comfortable. Whether they would get enough to actually get an overall majority, but they certainly would take power, and that's been the case for a little while. But that's probably partly because politics is cyclical, isn't it? You know, it's the way it always works. So it's going to run through the cycles, and I guess the difference with this country, when we were talking about Trump and the States, the damage that Trump has done in the States with what he's done in things like the Supreme Court, for example, and what they've managed to put in place there. That's not a 4 or 5 year cycle of politics. That's generational.
That's for life.
What they've managed to now get in there is going to have an impact for them. We luckily don't have that situation as bad here.
So well, I mean, one of Trump's more controversial things, especially going into the run up to the election, was build the wall, keep out the Mexicans. Okay.
Well, Simon Allen beautifully said, "I'm just pleased that he drained the swamp, built his wall, and locked her up," which I think were his 3 claims, Dan, weren't they? Yeah, that was it.
Okay, but actually, look at the voting figures, and look at the voting figures for Hispanics and Black African Americans, and the majority of them would vote for Trump before Hillary.
Yeah,
so they're voting for the person who said keep out the Mexicans, yet all the Mexicans voted for Trump.
Yeah, it is literally like the turkeys voting for Christmas, isn't it? Yeah, it just, it's
okay.
Just,
so that tells you how bad do they perceive Hillary?
Oh yeah, but this wasn't a discussion around Hillary. I mean, it was about Trump. I mean, frankly, politicians are just a wayward lot, aren't they? A wayward lot.
Do we
just
think
Trump Trump was so upfront about it? He would stand in front of you and basically tell you to F off and don't look into. He didn't show them his taxes. How did he get away with that?
He did stand there and say, "I want to build a wall and keep out the Mexicans and the immigrants."
Oh yeah,
and then they all went and voted for him.
Oh, it's astonishing. Yeah, I can't disagree. I mean, yes.
See, well, he sells the American dream, doesn't he?
If that is the case and that actually happened, how bad was the other alternative?
Because pretty much in America, it literally is. You I think can't remember the last time that an independent or there was a third party that was involved. It's not just is it?
You vote how your dad voted, basically. Isn't that the way it is? Still, once you're a Republican, you're always a Republican, and a Democrat, which is a shambles, really. But it's very similar to here. People are either Tories or Labour, and there generally isn't a lot of crossover.
Ironically, if that was true, there'd never be a change of party.
Yeah, well, no, because it's this is why the election night's so interesting, because a 1% swing in a key state can change the country's outlook. A small number of voters. Do you remember they recounted Florida, which decided an election going back maybe 12, 16 years ago, and it was like 30 or 40 votes that swung it. Now, this have been some incredibly close races.
it's certainly going to be interesting to see how it does play out for the next few. I mean, one thing that I think is I don't think there's going to be a change in leadership in Russia anytime soon. I think that's a fairly
do you know that?
A fairly safe one. I thought there was going to be a point where the people were going to try and do something, but I get the impression that's not going to happen now. I'm not sure.
That'll be an interesting one to keep an eye on, I think. But I'd like to see key leaders and politicians not being in their 60s and 70s. I mean, Biden as president of the US, for me, is astonishing.
Into office 76 or something.
Yeah, it's just madness, right? In that type of job, it just seems crazy to me. Get them in their mid 40s when they're in their prime.
But as Dan quite rightly says, who wants to go and do that?
Well,
this is the point, and for what reason? You're not doing it for financial gain, so you're doing it because either you want the kudos of being in that role, or you're looking for the power, or you're looking for influence, or genuinely it's a bit of a kind of a leadership rush on what you can do, or you can do some good.
Okay, but if you look at respected leaders around the world, most respected leaders, I don't even know who's the leader of Ukraine. I think it's like Litmanov or something. Who is the president of Ukraine?
Small guy, war T-shirt.
Yeah.
Klitschko's his name.
The
comedian.
The comedian guy. Yeah, the comedian.
Probably one of the most respected leaders.
Yep.
But what? Trudeau of Canada?
Well, it's a good question, Dan. If you could take any leader of another country and put them in as Prime Minister of the UK, who would you? Yeah. I think he probably would be very high up my list as well.
Jacinta, what's it called?
Yeah, the New Zealand. Yeah.
Okay.
Who's obviously just stepped aside.
What's the average age of these people?
Oh, they're young, right?
Well,
they're young people.
They're young. But
energetic.
Are they both technically liberals? Are they? They fairly middle. They fairly middle kind of middle ground on their politics.
They're probably middle of the road liberals.
Look, I'd put in Sturgeon. She's available on a Bosman and would be wildly entertaining. She'd be amazing, right? I mean, we could get incredible numbers on a Sunday night if Sturgeon was the British Prime Minister. I'm sure of it.
Oh dear, could you imagine? Yeah, could you imagine? But the point is there aren't. Everybody's got it's got a story. I mean, you got to look what's gone on in Brazil recently, and that whole election and what's happened there. And it's it's some scary stuff going on. I mean, I've mentioned on the show before. I mean, I regularly watch John Oliver's Last Week Tonight on Sky Atlantic every week. A great insight on what's going on in America, and runs some really good stories about this. And some of the stuff that he talks about, you just think it's mind boggles just how they get away with some of this and some of the policies that are put in place and what happens. It's crazy.
I mean, you've also got to look at there are certain places where you can say, well, whoever ends up being in charge of that country, you have to disregard all the normal rules, and you just have to say, well, this was happening regardless.
Dan, I've hit 4 pair in this PLO hand. Is that good?
Jam it.
Should I just keep betting this now? Is
4 pair, you say?
I'm not sure you can jam. now you have to bluff.
I like that. Decent opportunity there. Always going for 111.
5 pair. It's a full pot.
I'm looking for the 4.44 raise here.
How much of a delay are we on again?
I'm pretty sure if you look at certain websites, you'll see lots of things telling you how great North Korea is.
Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah,
doesn't make it so, but
Paul's time banking, which means he definitely was on a
draw.
He's gone for the 322.
He called you with the 1 pair and the 10 high draw.
He's taking it down. Listen, guys, listen. It has been an absolute pleasure, but I've got tomorrow to go to. So I think we're going to start thinking about closing this thing down.
We have flown through 90 minutes of chat, which got beautifully political. We've not done politics for a little while.
That was good. Absolutely.
I enjoyed that.
We don't want to shoot our...
We've not mentioned the main event of the week, which is Cheltenham.
We haven't mentioned Cheltenham. There's a ton of stuff that we haven't talked about.
Dan, did you have a good Cheltenham? Let's ask you that. Did you have a good week?
Did I personally?
Yeah.
I did, yeah.
Oh,
Excellent.
good man.
Oh, well, that's
good man.
I was only there for 2 days.
How was it generally, Dan? I didn't see any of it this year at all, which is a shame. I always liked seeing a race or two at Cheltenham. Didn't follow any of it. Did the bookies have a good week or not?
They had a good day. The first day, I think 5 or 7 favourites came in on the first day. The third day, there were certainly a couple of weeks. Obviously, the big race, the favourite won the Gold Cup.
So that's not great for the bookies, right? They want to see some.
It's not. So I was going to say on average, I think the punters probably had a better week than the bookies.
Good to see. Yeah.
The difference is obviously because the current economic climate, you don't know how much money is there out at this time, and
yeah.
I think they did a little thing. So the average spend per person per day at Cheltenham, they reckon, was £774.
Fucking hell. For attenders, the average spend, and they get what, about 50,000 attend Cheltenham?
Between 60 and 70. I think 68,500 was the max attendance, and it was pretty much maxed most days. Between 60 was the lowest, and 68,800 on Gold Cup Day.
Well, that's a hell of a lot of money.
They've reduced the attendance. It was pre-COVID. It was probably closer to 95,000.
Wow.
I'm glad they have reduced it, but a pint of Guinness was £8.
Oh, it's ludicrous. How could you do it? There was no messing or fighting or any of that nonsense that seemed to be creeping into racing a couple of seasons ago.
It was probably an awful lot less. To turn around and say there was none is impossible, because at an event with an awful lot of...
At £8 a pint, you're obviously not going to get as much. Because nobody can get totally hammered on that.
Well, I don't know. If people are going to get hammered at £6 a pint, is 10 more pints at an extra £2 a pint really going to affect somebody's drinking?
Probably.
Not really.
Yeah, among us Irish, yeah, I think so.
Oh, is that what it is? So it's
possibly.
basically we put the drunken Irish off.
Amen. What's up next? The National, presumably, the next big one.
Yeah, the national meeting must be in about 10 days, is it? Is it start of April?
No idea. And we'll have the Eurovision the same weekend, right?
Probably a week or two before the Irish Open.
Do you know what, Leigh?
Well, and before that, Des, we've got to remember this time next week we are in London for the APAT next.
Is that next week?
APAT event.
Is that next week?
That is next.
Is that next week?
Next weekend. Yeah.
So I'm guessing that's Stratford.
Yeah,
it is at Stratford. Yes, so
that will
get a huge number of runners for that. So that's come round quite quickly. So looking forward to that. The super Matt Pitt put out a lovely article on Poker News this week, running through everything that we've got going on this year with APAT Live. So well worth checking out if you've not done that. Give him a little a like on that to show your appreciation for him spreading the word for APAT. But yes, we'll be in London next week. Tom will be there for the first couple of days, and then we'll all be rocking up for the final day on the Sunday and doing a little bit of streaming and hopefully the show live from Stratford on Sunday night.
Is it just the APAT, or does it coincide with another event? Because I've noticed a lot of the APAT events at the moment are actually coinciding with other events, which is great.
This is standalone. This is the UK and Irish championship.
Okay. I mean, I don't think it'll matter at Stratford because obviously the player pool.
It'll be sold. Yeah, it'll be pretty much absolutely round. But then the next couple after that, Dan, you're quite right. We'll be at the Irish Open, and we'll be over in Malta with the Malta Poker Festival, the first one of the year of those. And then after that, we're in May. We're back at Dust Till Dawn for the UK Championship. So it's going to be a busy couple of months for APAT. So either alongside other festivals. I say Irish Open's going to be huge, so looking forward to that. So that'll be an absolute cracker. But this time next week, that's where we're going to be in London. So we're looking forward to catching up with everybody then.
Can't wait. Okay, well listen, Leigh, enjoy your what is this your last hand? Are we going to make this your last hand? Let's do one more hand after this, right? We'll talk you out.
Me and
we'll seriously comment.
Yeah, it's like.
Are you just playing hands over and back, trying to earn rake? Is that what's going on here?
we're literally sat here keeping a table open so that there's something on the screen. That's pretty much what we're doing.
All right.
So
Well,
no, interestingly, I that hand that Paul got lucky with early on, where it got him up to $40.
Yeah.
He's not done a huge amount since then. If you notice, he's pretty much just been dribbling away ever since then.
All 71 cents of it.
Yeah, exactly. yeah.
I got to be honest. I thought PLO was a bit of a crowd pleaser, but this. I'll apologise. I couldn't face that. I've had so long today. I couldn't face even sitting in. I wouldn't have been able to.
Dan, if you're doing what you're doing at the moment with Stars and playing the cash games that you're playing, I completely understand that.
It was brilliant to have the crack with you tonight, Dan. It's always great to have you on. Loved the political talk. We have got to do this again soon. It's not my area
of expertise, so I'll apologise.
I've got a funny feeling
we love it.
If we get Dan on again with Simon Allen,
let's do it. Let's do it.
Then we could sit back because it could be highly entertaining on their views on the world. It would be a good one, I think. So.
Fantastic. We don't do enough of that stuff. More to come. But we should also think about Eurovision, Leigh. The night of the Eurovision, we got to do some sort of crazy party for that, right?
We're going to have a Eurovision
I love the scoring.
party.
I live for Eurovision scoring. I'll be honest, I don't want to listen to the music. Just the scoring.
Maybe we need to do a watch along on the Saturday night, an APAT show on the Saturday night.
Let's do it.
Late on once the songs are out the way, and we'll just come on for the hour of the results.
Let's do it. Bring your own beer for the scoring. It could be spectacular.
Exactly. I guarantee, like last year, we'll get the. Well, how come we're still allowed in the Eurovision? Because
that's right.
The EU.
Yeah.
Neither the UK or Australia should be in Eurovision.
And this is because.
I'm joking. I'm joking. I think it's hilarious. I love Eurovision.
I'm like,
the UK's got to be in Eurovision. Of course it has.
We basically took the UK out of Europe and moved it.
We didn't. We just took it out of a financial institution. I think the UK is still very much in Europe.
I
no
know,
question.
But it was like, well, you've had your Brexit, so you're not allowed to sing in the Europe.
It's all good fun.
Do you know there was a question on University Challenge? We were catching up on a University Challenge the other week, and they were asked what the ERM stood for. Yeah. And genuinely, they didn't know.
Really? I wouldn't have a clue.
Yeah. Didn't know when we were removed from the ERM as to why exchange rate mechanism, and it wasn't.
Detail.
Ironically, with the Eurovision, who are the top 3 Eurovision winners of all time?
Well, Ireland's probably in the top 3, I'd have thought. Outside of that, I'm not sure. But I'd have thought Ireland were in there. We've won it a few times, I know. Do you know, Dan?
I think I do.
Who then?
I think Ireland are top.
Are they? Yeah, I mean, maybe. The funny thing...
I think it's Ireland, Sweden, UK.
Yeah, oh, right, okay. Well, the funny thing is, I remember...
UK has actually got to be pretty high up there, because although we don't get voted anything recent times, but actually before then we actually run it quite a lot.
Yeah. So I'm pretty sure we're third with 5 wins. Ireland with 7. Ireland top with 7.
I always remember the Irish celebratory process for the Eurovision when something along the lines of, yes, we won, we showed them we're the best, oh shit, we're going to have to pay for this next year. That's the way it would always go. Yeah. And if we finished second or third, it would be the opposite. It would go, they robbed us, we were the best, Cyprus should have given us the 12 points there, but thank Christ we don't have to pay for it next year. It's just like madness.
Yeah,
it's all good fun. Right, guys.
God bless the Irish.
God bless the Irish. And I think on that fine note, we shall leave it there and do it all again next week.
Maybe next week we announce all the teams for the world live on the APAT show.
Well, we'll be in Aspers. Could we pull that off at Aspers? I mean, possibly.
Oh, so we're in Aspers next week. Oh, there's going to be no show next weekend.
Well, no, we'll be there with the show. We'll have the kit. We're going to try and do it. So, maybe. Maybe, yeah. We will
Well,
see.
I'm doing nothing. I might head up there.
Well, if you get a team sheet, Dan,
Well,
we want to be the first to know, right?
Okay.
Well, we
Lovely.
may see you in London. We may see you in London because you can hop on the train and you'll be there before you know it.
I'm halfway there.
Yeah. So
come down, Dan. Come down. You'd be in good company. I'll tell you, did we have 429 runners?
Yeah,
last year?
Last year was over 400 runners.
12 grand
event,
up top.
So
was that?
Yeah,
was that right? 12 grand. It was huge.
Yeah.
Gary
yeah,
McBride finished third, right?
He did, yeah. First APAT medal, or maybe even first APAT cash. Actually,
I'm not even sure. Was there like a live stream of the final?
We did, yeah. I did a bit live from the
Bits and
table,
pieces.
so
I remember
yeah,
watching. It was really good. Yeah, it was. Really good.
It did some live from the table, so sweet.
Oh.
It took a while for that compliment to come through. But...
We got there in the end. We will see you all. We'll see you all live from London next week. Then, yeah, Des.
Yeah. So no, everybody have a great week. See you next weekend. Thanks again, Dan. And here we go.